Greetings, everyone. This is Virtuous Roots, where we reclaim virtue to bring it to our home and yours. And I'm Thomas McCuddy.
And I'm Thomas Quackenbush.
I'm Nick Wiegand, and today's discussion we're going to be talking about awe and wonder, finding God's virtue in nature. I love this topic. It's going to probably be one of my favorites, but I do want to kick us off, and I want to read Psalm 19:1. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the sky above proclaims His handiwork. And so, as we talk about this, it's important as we realize that this isn't an episode that's just talking about getting outside and going in nature, but it's an intentional outing in nature. So before we started, you were kind of talking through something you and your boys did. And what was the intentionality behind it? So what was it and why?
So we went the other day out in one of the cities north of us, and the whole goal was I looked up different parks. Like, let's go places we haven't been before. Like, I think this weekend my wife took them. We renewed our membership to the Fayetteville Botanical Gardens, and we love going there. And the boys enjoy it. We haven't been there in a while. She took them. But part of me was like, I want to go somewhere different and just almost explore, find things with the boys. Like, this is the kind of thing that spending time with your children doesn't have to be expensive. You don't have to take them to the trampoline parks and the amusement parks, and you don't have to go and do all these grandiose things. I just kind of had a list of parks, and again, didn't really know what was there. I knew one of them had the word lake in it, so I mean, I assume kind of like a lake. I try to find, if there were some cool like playgrounds and things for the youngers, but our whole goal was to spend this time together. And even while we were out on this, we weren't sure with one of the parks where to find the lake. And I'd sort of kind of given up. I was like, well, there seems to be a fence, and I'm the kind of guy who, growing up in inner cities, you don't cross fences, that kind of thing. Like, I know it would be very different on that, but I'm very, I tend to be, I like to respect property lines, those things. I was like, And the boys were like, we really want to go see if we can find the lake. And my youngest is like, Daddy, we're on an adventure. And I'm like, sold, done. I actually, like, I was pulling out. I was like, nope, pulled back into the slot. Let's go. And we went out and we found the lake, and they went down, and it was this, they talk about visiting the beach. Like, it was like maybe like, a meter, 3-4 feet of beach that we had. And but they were just so excited that they found it. They were able to do this, and we're doing this together. And it meant so much to them. It wasn't that it wasn't fantastic. We didn't find instance of, wild animals and all this. We did see some kids that were playing with bushes, and I'm pretty sure I know what poison ivy looks like. So I was like, this was odd. Like, I helped them out. I was like, guys, don't mess with that. So I feel like I did a good deed. But it's one of these where we were just enjoying the nature, and there's this element of the beauty. Like, they're like, what can we find? What can, and going out and the peacefulness, but together.
Yeah.
And so again, it's like, it's one thing where if you're just going to go and, hey, we're going to go, and you're going for that thing, it didn't matter what park, it didn't matter where, so much as we were just doing this new together.
Yeah.
Right.
And
So it was intentional to just explore God's creation, but do it in a way that brought you closer together and closer to God. I would make the assumption, right?
Right, because we're in a season where, at least in our area, things are blossoming again. They're green, and it was really, I think what really inspired me was I was coming back from the Charlotte area on Saturday, and out there, it was in South Carolina, where it really was, and they had in the wind was blowing, and it was all of, I don't know if it was cotton, it was white, this white fuzz. It was everywhere. And, part of me was immediately like, oh, allergies. But the other part, I'm watching this, is just beautiful.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's this time of year to enjoy the different kind of beauty that God has. And that was, I think, part of me was like, I was coming back, I was like, I want to experience this with my boys.
Yeah.
I want to be with them, and I want to enjoy together what God has made. And I think as we think about trying to spend time with our family, with our kids, I think we always try to ramp it up. We're always like, okay, what grand thing can we do? And there is some joy of just walking together, experiencing new things, Sometimes it's a bus. We pulled into one park and the boys are like, yeah, no, this is not, this was not a good idea. So like, I like, well, there's others. We'll go to others. Some things look sketchy. So there's prudence that needs to go into play. Like, but I think again, the joy of fellowship. We talk about one of the spiritual disciplines being fellowship.
Yeah.
And being able to have conversations with my boys and being able to build that relationship and build into them. And Stacy was actually worried about me. She's like, but you've been gone all weekend. You've done all this, are you tired? Do you need a rest? I was like, I want to be with my boys.
It's almost like rejuvenating.
It was. And so I think we as parents need to shift how we think about making it about the family first and doing this together.
I liked what you said, fellowship. And I don't know how often we think of spending time with our children as fellowship, and I like that a lot. Just we're building, because I always think of it this way too. I know we're parents and we're with our children, and there's a distinction obviously in our roles, but we are just human beings that are a little bit further along on a journey than them, and almost like being with our children renews our own wonder. Like, just get to relive some of that stuff when you're a kid. You explain, I remember when I was your age, and it's really, we connect and like, oh really, Dad? That's cool. Like, what'd you think? And we have these conversations. And also, as you were talking, I was thinking about, I think, because also we're talking about virtue, as we always do. And I remember one of my favorite books that I read my boys when they were little was called Going on a Bear Hunt. And I remember that because the family goes and they just have this kind of imaginative journey. And they go out into the woods, and they every time they hit an obstacle, they have to decide what to do with it. They can go over it. They can't go over it. They can't go under it. They have to go through it. And it shows that the kids, like with the object in mind of discovering something like a bear or something, they go through the obstacle. And like, you think about as with the virtue language, thinking back, I'm like, that's like, you're out there. There's a challenge. Let's go through it and build that fortitude together and like climb the mountain or get that vista that takes a little bit of effort. And we can look out at God's wonder and just recognize this beauty. And with me, like similar, I went to a park, Raven Rock. I know that listeners probably don't know where that is, but in Fayetteville, they have this park, and it's like this kind of gorge that's kind of carved out, and it's just so much fun. And you just for us, it's quiet, and my boys and I, we just kind of just took it in, and it's just like, and they remember it, and they always tell, I want to go back there, and just we didn't do it, like we didn't have to go out and spend any money other than the gas it took us to get there. We got exercise, we had time together, we goofed off, and we just really sat and contemplated God's creation.
And I think that's why, as we're looking, particularly mid-year, like I think about, like in South Africa, we're looking to go to the Kruger. Like that's one of the things we're hoping to do. Hoping all of us will get to be at the Kruger, actually. We're hoping. We're hoping. We're trying.
Yeah.
And so when you do something, as I've told, because I've never been to the Kruger, but when you go to the Kruger, you're going because there's animals and because there is this wildness. And I think this is why also, like this is why I want us all to go. It's important not just to go to see the lions and the elephants and the various animals that could threaten your vehicle, but that sense of fellowship, that sense of being with, again, the Kruger offers something that's going to catch your attention. But there's this element, like I said, we went to these parks. They were just local community parks. There was nothing fearful in there. And since, I wasn't afraid of anything, even with the way the weather was, I wasn't even afraid of like snakes or anything. There was no danger. But it was that sense of the boys just spending time with them and being present.
Yeah.
We've talked about that before, like being there with them. They knew I was there because I wanted to be with them.
And it makes me think of the verses that Nick read to us, just about just the grand, like just with the idea and the understanding that God has created this for the purpose of us to enjoy it and grow spiritually by embracing this type of thing. And like Thomas and I, when the first time I went to South Africa, and we went, and it was so cool. We went to this, like with the animals, we actually walked with lions. We did something so novel, like it's still so cool to talk about. And so we have this experience that we shared together, and it's something that, like, we can always think back. Like I had the courage to stand behind a lion, even though they're trained, and but it was those experiences, and I just all of what we experienced while we were over there, since it was so novel and new, just like when we bring my boys to a brand new place, your senses just kind of like just everything gets taken in, and you're just like, wow, this is amazing. And I think that's just, it brings out so much. When we come home, we might be tired from the exertion of the walk or the hike or the climbing, but we feel like we've accomplished something that day. Like, I don't know. This is a really great topic.
Well, I feel like when you're with the lions and when we were walking with the lions, I wasn't really paying attention to the people I was with, unless I was like gauging if I could run faster than them. Like that was about the only reason. Like, as I'm, I wouldn't necessarily do that, but I don't know how I would have reacted because they are supposed to be trained. Ish.
Yeah.
They give you a little stick and they're like, just put the stick in front. And I'm like, this little stick and this lion. Like,
when I heard them growl over that chicken they threw them, I'm like, like it just rumbled in my chest. I'm
yeah.
Like, these things are powerful.
So those, and again, I'm not diminishing. We need experiences like that. But that's what I think is sometimes, if that's what we're going for, then what's going to happen as families, we tend to take our focus off of each other. And we're so overwhelmed. So there's this sense of getting out and this virtue, this balance of enjoying that nature without, at the same time, being distracted by the things that are there. And like, I want to do stuff like that with my boys. I want to have some of those experiences. But again, there was such a joy and just such that good Christian fellowship with your family.
Oh, wow, yeah.
I think that's what we miss sometimes. We think fellowship is what I do at church. Fellowship is what I do with my small group. Fellowship is what I do with these people. We don't think of seeking that fellowship with our children and with our family. And so I think that's kind of the call to families is to rethink how this works.
Yeah.
So I hear you guys, and I agree. But I think there's a larger element at play. And we're talking about, so I think the fellowship's important. I mean, this is how I raised my kids. We did so-called nature walks at like 2, 3, and 4 years old, where we walked around the apartment complex.
Yeah.
And they would just ask about things and we would talk about things. But I raised 2 kids, my 2 youngest ones. The youngest one has gone off on adventures and moved to the Virgin Islands, and she does floral stuff, but she just finished hiking Patagonia at 19 years old.
So awesome.
And then my 21-year-old is environmental science, and she's geared her entire world around living in the mountains and in this pursuit of she has an art thing where she came up with this idea of bear his image responsibly, talking about God's image, and used a bear as the symbol.
That's cool.
So I completely agree. And we started with these small things like the little parks and things like that. But I mean, their entire life was around like pursuing and taking in God's wonder and awe through nature. I mean, this is a huge, huge topic for me.
Yep.
But we did everything. I mean, we didn't just do small parks and local stuff. I mean, we would take hike upon hike in the mountains, and it was always challenging. And so like I the lion thing, that's cool, right? I got swatted by a cheetah. That was, those are cool, but and I really enjoyed those, but there was no challenge there. There was no actual, like you don't truly understand God's creation until you've been challenged by it.
Yeah, that's definitely a good
and
point.
so I would say that it's a really good start to do the small things, but then to use those as steps to progress, because one of the things that nature shows us is the immensity of who he is. Does that make sense? You're giving me a look.
No, I was thinking, because I was trying to remember. Somebody told me the other day about something where it was involved some hiking, and he was saying how it was when we were down in Texas. There was a gentleman who had also been to South Africa, and he was talking about down in, I think it was Cape Town, like the 12 Apostles or something. Like there was some hills and things and stuff to hike, and he was telling me about it.
Yeah.
And he was saying, it's not, not terrible. I mean, it's tough. I mean, it's a hike, but I think the encouragement and the really good between you and I is, like, with our family, we're very much an indoor family. Like I have I work in the home, very sedentary. So for us, there is that element of start small, and then I think there is.
And I'm
that
definitely
element,
encouraging that.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think it's good because with whatever family, wherever you're at, if you're used to doing some of the more adventurous things, then there is that element of taking it up a notch, which for me would be a huge leap. And so that's why for us, there is that element of getting that spirit of adventure, learning how to maybe work around the fences that get put around
Okay,
you. 'Cause
so-
I saw your
so-
looks. No trespassing. I'm not saying I was trespassing.
Here's the problem, right? Like, I may have taken it a little too far with my daughters. There were a couple of vacations that we in a row that the family kind of came up with this saying that it's not a real vacation until Faith almost dies, because
To be clear, your daughter.
my daughter's name is Faith, almost got crushed by a boulder once, almost drowned once.
Mhm.
I mean, like legitimately, like bad. Like we decided that we were gonna use a water slide down a waterfall rapid thing, and it was a lot of fun until we hit the end. And
Oh man.
Right.
so yeah, fences should be there for a reason.
Yeah, they give you
But
a little bit of warning.
that's not the point. Isn't like the extreme nature of the silly stuff I put my family through,
hmm
but it's the idea of that challenge, that constant challenge,
Well,
and the challenge for me, because it wasn't just the challenge of physically exerting.
hmm
It's the challenge of understanding God's world,
hmm
the ecosystem, the food chain, how the plants work, how it all comes together.
That's one unit, like one whole kind of like.
Yeah, when you really dig into it, it's the argument of design, right?
Yeah.
Like it's how everything works together. As if we're going to look for his virtue in this,
Yeah.
that we have to dig deeper than just ooh, pretty sunset. Now, I'll chase a sunset, but it's got to be more than that. It's got to be, why is it? What are we actually doing here?
I think that, like, when you mention God's immensity, like, how would we even grasp that concept without like perceiving something immense? Like, I mean, yeah, obviously our like a canyon, like the Grand Canyon of the United States, is immense, and we can see God's handiwork in it. But obviously our limited view of what immense means is so much more than that. But we get that as we dig deep. So just like enjoying a sunset for a sunset's sake, yeah, it's cool. But if you start thinking about that God's immensity, that He does this and He puts on this kind of performance for us, just seeing all the colors as they, like I read books where people are kind of describing the sunset like it's like painting the sky, like all these different colors and arrays and other things, and how that if you have a perspective that God put beauty into this world specifically for the purpose so that we can enjoy it, and also as we enjoy it, we contemplate His nature, which is God's immensity, which I don't think we would understand otherwise.
And I think the fellowship aspect also comes back in the book of Genesis, when God had created the garden, set everything up, and Adam and Eve, what is God doing? He's walking with them in the cool of the day. He's fellowshipping with them. He's, the conversations, I don't know how long they were in the garden. Couldn't have been terribly long, but those kinds of conversations with God.
Yep.
And I think that's why when chasing a sunset, when doing these things, having that time, God has given us this world, and and while I recognize some of the adventures you have might be memorable for some of the more unfortunate reasons, I'm trying to figure out the right way.
Nobody's died, so we're good.
That's true. And I've been on a few when I was younger. Those kinds of things, I look back, I'm like, I could have died. Like that's prudence is also recommended when you're in nature, but there becomes this element of when you've spent those time, and like I said, you've had the conversations, but you're also, we talk about the parent as the teacher, that you get to point out these things, you get to experience this and maybe even learn with your children. Where I remember being in school, and we had this whole unit on leaves, and we had to learn leaves, and I had to go find leaves and press them and bring them into school, and I hated it because it was laboratory style.
Yeah.
It was all the write-ups and classifications, but to go and to have done that with my dad and to experience that, man, I would have leapt at that opportunity. And so I think for a lot of parents, they think, oh, my kids, that like I was almost actually worried. I was looking at this. I'm like, my kids, are they gonna like kind of balk at this? Like, what's gonna happen? And when they found out what we were doing, they were so excited, and there was such a joy for them to be excited. And I almost like, there's no way I can't not go on this. Like, we got to
Right,
make this
yeah.
happen. And you get to experience that. And afterwards, they were so thankful. They were like, we've had such a good time. That joy. I think many families are missing out. They're thinking, oh, it's just this or it's just that, or, we've done that before. Spending that time, that's how I told my wife. I was like, it's not about the parks. It's not about anything else other than I want to spend the time with my boys, and we get to enjoy this gift God has given us.
Yep.
When I met my wife, I'm a mountain. I love the mountains. I mean, they're like I will find it's as close to heaven on earth as I
Yep.
think you can find. I love being in the mountains. When I met my wife, she was a beach girl. And I generally don't understand beach people. Is that being like the thing they like to do? Because it always seems to me that the whole point of going to the beach is just leisure. Just sit, do nothing, listen, not really a whole lot to it. So I started taking her to the mountains, and we were doing these alternating trips, right? And they're cheap, right? Like, we just live so close to each of them. And now, if you ask her, she would so much rather be in the mountains than she would at the beach, because we hike and we see all of what God has given us. Now, the beach is cool too, but it is not as much to take in other than just the listening of the waves, the burning of your eyes from the salt water, the gradient of the sand in cracks.
The crazy sharks that come after you.
Yeah.
That wasn't on the beach. That was out in a boat. But, yeah, there's...
I think that was a pot shot at me because I've...
Oh, you're the shark guy. That's right.
Yeah, I'm the one who has the death fear of open water.
Yeah, but I almost got eaten by the sharks.
I think I got both you guys.
Yeah, I think you did.
Yeah, that was good. That was 2 with 1. That was impressive.
Anyway, but once she got exposed to the beauty of what nature really has, and she got to enjoy it, she has completely converted over to wanting to go camping in the mountains and do all of the things that are not at the beach. Now, occasionally she likes to still go to the beach. But when we can take in God's just immensity, his awe, the wonder of everything that he has given to us, I think it changes how we view him and how we view the world around us. I do want to read one more, and it's Romans 1:19 through 20. It says, "For what can be known about God is plain to them, because God has shown it to them. For his invisible attributes, namely his eternal power and divine nature, have been clearly perceived ever since the creation of the world in the things that have been made, so they are without excuse." It's talking about people who aren't listening, but like Scripture just screams to us, like, everything around you that is created is showing us who God is and what his attributes are. So I love the intentionality behind it. I think that's important, and I think it is our responsibility as parents to let our children experience it, even if we're experiencing it for the first time ourselves. I mean, if you feel ill-equipped to take your child out into the world, then equip yourself.
Yeah. And even not, like, I have a story that's not directly related to my children, but my father-in-law, who's passed away in 2020, he was very difficult. He had a very difficult relationship with my wife and her siblings. And as he got older, I had the opportunity of going on hikes with him, and we built a relationship that, he was able to talk about things from his past, and me and him just really bonded over this activity that we started, because I lived up in New York and New Jersey. For those in South Africa might not know exactly, but we have the Appalachian Trail, which is a trail that goes from Georgia all the way to Maine. And me and him just did bits and pieces of it, but it was such an intentional time, and we'd look at things and we just see like the nature, and before we had all the apps on our phone, we would take pictures of leaves and bring them back to the computer and kind of see what we saw, so that we had that understanding of everything. And it changed our relationship. It changed really his life, and he was able to enjoy that activity up to his death. And it was, I think it was such a great thing that he was able to experience. I think it changed him.
So it's the restorative nature of nature, of God's of God's creation
Yes,
that
sir.
can bring us together.
Mhm.
Well, gentlemen, as always, I appreciate the conversation. And you can find us at familiesofvirtue.com. And this is our podcast, Virtuous Roots, can be found on all major streaming platforms. Be blessed, and we'll talk to you next time.